In between, you mentioned style. I just wanted to get a sense of when you understood that now you're kind of starting to arrive at a certain personal style of your own. How long did that take for you to arrive at that?
I do not like the word style. For me, it's content over style. What I'm trying to do. So
Right.
if a Brood book, um, it's looking at it from a conceptual framework. So if Brood book, where I'm talking about blue tarpaulin sheets, and I
Yeah.
want to use only black and blue, the color, because it's the color of the material. I'm talking about the material, so that will drive my style. So I'm working
Got it.
backwards.
Okay.
Similarly, for Goda Cycle project, a minimal color palette wouldn't have worked because
Mm.
I mean it needs to be illustrated in all the richness, all the colors of a cycle, the mud flap, the saddle, all kinds of small trinkets that are hanging at the handle, uh, the smaller seats on the bar in the middle. So all these details had to be, if I'm drawing a grape seller with his whole thing, the grapes had to look like grapes. So the color was important there. And I was talking about our tendency as Indians to decorate our belongings,
Mm.
and we do that with our MacBook Pros, and at a very basic level also we are into that. So in Koda Cycle Project, it was about like how people customize their cycles because it's so dear to them. They use it for their livelihoods. So I would arrive at style from what I want to do, what I want to
Right. So if
sort
I
of
understand what you're saying, style is something that's essentially sort of limited to the framework of that project and the demands of that project, and it's not something that necessarily needs to carry through to all your each time.
that's my thing.
Yeah.
I don't believe that it needs to. So for example, like Koda Cycle project got super popular, and I started getting so many different offers from all over. And
Mm.
usually the emails would sound like, oh, someone from Amsterdam writing to me saying that, hey, I have my cycle. Can you illustrate it in your Goda cycle style?
Right.
Or someone in the US writing to basically to ask me to illustrate something in my Goda cycle style.
Mm. So what would your
So
response be in that situation?
I was still forming my, I was still like understanding what is happening because it was a lot of attention. And then the Paul Smith collaboration happened. But
Right.
eventually I
Yeah.
stopped it. I said that no, this is not about just pasting this treatment onto whatever you want. It's
Right.
something that I had done for this project, especially after a lot of iterations. I arrived there, and I enjoyed that process. But this is not enjoyable anymore. So I would just say no after a point. I did take up a couple of projects, but it didn't feel good. So then I stopped.
That's quite enlightened of you to arrive at that awareness. And I mean, the impulse is always strong. When you get these kind of demands from clients, you always feel like maybe you should just kind of give in and do this because finally, at the end of the day, it's a commercial project. But yeah, that's
I don't know.
pretty
I
great that
was
you had that
this
clarity,
sense of, yeah, it's just boredom with something that, and like no, I can't. And then you also get stagnant very fast. I mean,
Yeah.
I felt that like I was getting stagnant with this one particular project, and the worst thing to happen would have been me working only in that kind of way through my life.
Mm.
That's a dreadful scenario for me personally.
You have just listened to a brief extract from episode 3 of Happy Accidents, a series of interviews with creative practitioners on craft, process, and authenticity in the age of AI. This episode, in which I, Vinayak Varma, interview artist Samir Kulavoor, releases on Sunday, July 19th. Listen to the full episode, find podcast links, RSS feeds, show notes, and more on happyaccidents.co.in.